We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Your culture will adapt to service us. Resistance is futile.
No! No! I will not sacrifice the Enterprise. We made too many compromises already. Too many retreats. They invade our space, and we fall back. They assimilate entire worlds, and we fall back. Not again. The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther. I will make them pay for what they've done.
Good evening. It's Sunday, the 18th of December, 1 week from Christmas. Hope you all are having a nice evening. And this is Renegade Ramblers Radio, where thinking like a renegade is a good thing. Hey, Jeff, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Daniel, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I survived Toronto this week, so if I can
And
survive the blizzards.
I was going to say, you must have been like snowed in, iced in, frozen. I mean, it must have been very interesting up there in Toronto.
I was seriously starting to think they should have given me a snowmobile instead of a semi, but well.
So how is your preparation for Christmas? You guys all ready for Christmas and set for the big day with all the kids?
Oh, we had the meeting with my grandparents in Hagerstown. We did that yesterday. That went off pretty well. Then wife got the last few of the Christmas gifts, I believe. I think we got a couple more to get on, with next week's paycheck on Friday. Hopefully it comes in.
And I'm all done. I'm ready for Christmas. And, I was just thinking about this, think about Christmas traditions. We all kind of have them. Do you have any at the Bailey house? Do you do something every year?
Yeah, I don't know if we'd really call them traditions or not. I mean, we go down to Hagerstown. We used to do Hagerstown every Christmas Eve, but we moved that because of health reasons. We moved that to the weekend before. And then with Christmas Eve, now we spend that over at my parents' house, open all the gifts there, and then we come back to my house. Then we go down to my other grandparents' house on Christmas Day. Other than that, we don't really do too much. Too many people.
Where I was going with this is, I have two movies I watch every Christmas. The first one's White Christmas, Bing Crosby. Come on, who doesn't love a sappy musical at Christmas time? I mean, it's just good, clean, fun. I mean, those movies from back in the 50s. I mean, they were just nice. They were fun. They were clean. I mean, nothing like today in the movies we see today. And my second one, I have to watch every year. It's A Wonderful Life.
I was gonna say, who couldn't fall in love with a Bing Crosby movie about Christmas?
I mean, really. I mean, it's just the same thing. I watch it seriously every year. And then the other one I have to watch is It's a Wonderful Life.
But are you talking about this one?
Merry Christmas, movie house! Merry Christmas, Emporium! Merry Christmas, you wonderful building it alone! Hey! Merry Christmas, Mr. Potter! Happy New Year to you! In jail. Go on home, they're waiting for you.
Yes, that's the same one. Those old movies, I mean, they taught us lessons. I mean, It's a Wonderful Life. I mean, the biggest lesson in that one is that all life is precious. Today we have this culture of death, but man, it really drove home that life is important. And then the other thing it taught is that we have an impact on everyone's life around us. We need to impact people's lives for eternity. And I'm going with this, going someplace with this. Recently, you guys have made a decision that's going to make a huge impact on your children's life. You've decided to homeschool, and so we talked about this. We were going to do this for a while about homeschooling, and you know, your decision to take them out of the indoctrination camps and teach them at home is going to have an impact on their lives for eternity. So what brought you to that choice? What made you decide to just, you and your wife, to homeschool your children?
Well, we had tried it once before with my oldest, and the wife got discouraged, and basically we decided to put him back in because of, it was just leading to issues at the time. And then they did all right. And then just a couple of weeks ago, we had been talking about pulling them out at the end of this year anyway, because, well, I'm not a real big fan of the public school system to begin with. I never went to the public schools. I was Christian school and homeschooled growing up. But now that the kids all know how to read, the reading thing is kind of taken off the table now, and all we have to do is teach them how to learn and to continue them into their reading progress. So we planned on taking them out at the end of the year. No problem. Everything was going along fine. Minor hiccups, stuff like that. And then come to find out, my oldest son forgot to do his contract. Now, this
Contract?
Yeah, contract. That's what they called it, contract. Now, for one, the last I checked, a minor cannot enter into a contract. So let's just call it what it is. It's homework. It's an assignment the teacher wanted done. Stop changing the language. But I was able to let that go. But on this last one, he didn't get it done, or he says he, quote, forgot about it, which we all know he didn't do it. He didn't want to do it. Skylander's imagination force was much more important to him than playing school. So he didn't get it done, didn't get it turned in. And the teacher decided to make an example. This is where she goes overboard, and this is where we decided that was the end of the public school system, at least for the oldest boy. She sent him to the vice principal's office for not having his homework done. Made him eat lunch with the vice principal, wouldn't let him do his specials, and wouldn't let him go to recess because he didn't get his contract done. There's air finger quotes there somewhere, I'm sure. But we have felt that is extremely excessive of a teacher.
Yeah. Well, just looking at the National Home Education Research Institute, they're saying that there's about 2 million children in the United States now between K and 12 that are home educated, and that was as of 2012. There really aren't any really up-to-date numbers, and a lot of these are just estimates because they really aren't tracking this that much, I don't believe. This institute is saying that homeschooling is growing by between 2 and 8% per year over the last few years. So it's a growing trend in our country. Is that not correct?
Yeah, that's as far as I know, it's correct. The problem is that the public schools, at least in this area, have all gone to the Common Core stuff, which is just complete garbage. The kids aren't learning anything. They're learning how to do the steps the teacher wants to answer the questions for a test. They're not learning anything. They don't understand that 2 + 2 is always 4. It's 2 + 2. Oh, I feel like it equals 6 today. So my answer's right because that's what I feel.
Right. And they're saying here that taxpayers spend about $11,732 per pupil in public schools. So that means they're paying almost $12,000 per student, plus the capital expenditures. So that's not even including the buildings and everything. where families are spending on average, they're saying around $600 per year for education. The other thing I was thinking about with this homeschooling is there is a myriad now of uh, different curriculums out there. You got Ron Paul with his own, with a whole K through 12 curriculum. You have Dr. Woods in the Liberty classroom, and that's more geared towards high school students and adults. But high school students certainly can benefit from the teachings in Liberty classroom. Uh, there is all kinds of. So, have you guys looked into the different um, curriculums, and have you guys chosen one?
Well, pretty much it looks like we're going to go with Landmark Baptist curriculum. Now, the only reason we're doing that is it comes. I did that as a high schooler. I know their high school program, but it came recommended by my pastor friend. He said that because we're pulling them out of a public school situation, you just can't. He didn't recommend just turning them loose. With Robinson, which we were originally looking at, he said it's mainly you need a self-motivated, self-taught student to do that. His kids could do that because they were homeschooled their entire life. They've never been in a traditional school setting. He said with my kids, though,
Right.
being that they were in a traditional school setting, they would probably do better with Landmark because it's more of a curriculum based. You can amend it and change it and stuff like that. The state law only requires that they show a yearly advancement in math, science, English, state and national history, and spelling or something like that.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to show that they're on grade level, from what I understand. You just have to show that they're progressing.
Right.
They're
Now,
learning.
there's an article here from U.S. News from September 12, 2016. It's entitled, "Here's How Homeschooling is Changing America." And in it, I'm not going to go down and read it, but they really were talking about that there's, especially in Pennsylvania and there's a few other states, we have these online schools, charter schools now. So you're homeschooling, but it's a structured school. And it's mainly, I think they do it for elementary school, but my family members that are homeschooling, their high school students are doing this homeschooling through Connections. That's the charter school they're using. So have you any thoughts or anything going on with all these charter schools that's being talked about, especially like in this article from U.S. News?
We had tried charter school. We pulled when we pulled my oldest out. We'll refer to him as JR, mainly because that's what I've nicknamed him since he has my name. When we pulled him out originally, we went with Abeka, which is you put the DVD in, they have workbooks, they do the workbooks, they're done for the day. It's a nice program. It's really good for kids that have issues with phonics, but it's really expensive. So the following year, that was his kindergarten year. We pulled him out halfway through his kindergarten year. So the beginning of his first grade year, we did a charter school. Found out the charter school is no real different than the public school system. It's just more burdensome for the parents because the kid had to do testing every 3 or 4 weeks. You had to make the testing. If they had a vacation, or not a vacation, a field trip or something, you still had to do your required schoolwork for that day. So just because the kid was on the field trip all day didn't give him a pass to not get the schoolwork done that day.
Yeah. Well, I think we're coming up on a break here at Renegade Ramblers Radio, where thinking outside the box is a good thing. Do we want to take our first break and pick this up on there? Because I want to touch on this charter school stuff a little bit outside more on the other side of the break.
Yes, I think we'll break here. We'll play a little bit of Bing Crosby in honor of White Christmas here, and we'll be right back, folks. Welcome back from our first break there. This is Renegade Ramblers Radio, where thinking outside of the box is a good thing. Welcome back there, Jeff. I was trying to pull up during the break the text message or email that my pastor friend had sent me on the PA state law. It doesn't seem to want to pull up for some reason. I have to do it on my phone.
Well, before we get going too far here, I hope the listeners picked up on something. When we came into the show, there was one tagline. After coming back from the break, there was a second tagline, and there's going to be two more. So throughout this show, you're going to hear 4 different taglines, and this is where you listeners are going to help us out. You guys pick which one's the best, and that's what we're going to be. Whether it's thinking outside the box is a good thing, or we're thinking like a renegade is a good thing, or now you're going to have to wait and listen for the next 2 so you can hear all 4. But getting back to this homeschooling, I have 2 nieces and a nephew that are all in high school. One's graduated, one's a senior, one's a sophomore. The one that's graduated went through connections, and the one that my nephew's in 10th grade, he's going through connections. The middle one is continuing to use homeschool curriculum. One thing I found about connections, and what I liked about it with the high school kids is, I'm going to tell you right now, if I was not that great a student in high school, man, what they're doing would have been a serious challenge to me, because they definitely are making them learn how to think in that, not learning how to repeat the answers back to them. Because that, unfortunately, in public school today, that's what they're doing. They're teaching them how to give them the answer.
Well,
So
they have to, because if you don't pass the test, it shows up on the state. What is the state called? The state survey or the state certification. And if they grades go if their grades go under a certain level, they then get deducted from their so-called money that they believe they are deserving from the state and from the Fed, mainly because of the No Student Gets an Education bill that went through under the Bush administration.
And then, actually, I'm looking for one other part of this article. I'm pretty sure it was this one here, but because there's a few states that are doing what they call the Tim Tebow law, where homeschoolers are able to use. Here it is. For example, 28 states do not prevent homeschooled students from participating in public school interscholastic sports. At least 15 more states are considering, quote unquote, Tim Tebow laws named after the homeschooled athlete that would allow homeschoolers access to the school sports. So that's the other thing that's really been changing in homeschooling, because both my nieces and my nephew, all 3 of them have every spring run track. And my nephew, the 10th grader, is a varsity soccer player. He's very, very good at soccer. And it's been a great opportunity as homeschoolers for them to get and socialize with other kids their age, which is all, that's always been a knock on homeschooling, is that they don't get the socialization, where today there's homeschool associations. They go on field trips together. Because you've homeschooled, so you've seen it, that there's ample opportunities. All 3 of them for the longest time did 4-H. So there's clubs and different things for them to do. But today, with the school sports, it's been a really big help to homeschoolers to get to participate in sports where they would, in the past, would have lost out as being homeschooled.
Yeah, and Pennsylvania is one of those states. So because we have to pay our state taxes the way we do, the kids are eligible to participate in any school activity or after school activity just because, hey, you paid the taxes.
Right.
But going back to the socialization part, I don't think anybody would say that Thomas Jefferson or James Madison or anything of them were lacking socialization skills because they were homeschooled.
No, no. Matter of fact, most of them spoke multiple languages. I mean, Jefferson was our ambassador to France, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm almost positive he spent time in France. If it wasn't him, it was definitely Benjamin Franklin. Most of them could speak multiple languages. Where today, I mean, I can speak English and sometimes not very well.
I speak English, bad English, horrible Spanish, and maybe a word or two of Latin. That's about it for me.
Well, I think you do. If you consider Pig Latin, maybe I know a little Latin, but that's about it. So uh, today's with all this homeschooling, there are so many different opportunities for the students in homeschooling. Like I said, with these charter schools, with all the different curriculums. One thing that was nice about the charter schools, though, as well, is that they could do some advanced classes. My oldest niece that was homeschooled, she did some advanced classes, if I'm not mistaken, through the charter school. So she was able to do some college credits ahead of time, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong on that. That maybe she did it, but I'm pretty sure she did. So there's a lot of different. Today, there's so many opportunities for students with homeschooling that they didn't have 20 years ago. And there's actually, I found a homeschooling. Uh, it's called Homeschooling Today. It's an online magazine for homeschoolers. And I found a kind of a cool article on here. I'm just going to read the article because it's short. It won't take us but a couple minutes to read. It's called 5 Tips to Manage Busy Homeschool Families. And you know what? I found out, I think that most families, if we kind of put these into our families, we would make our houses run more efficiently a lot of time too, because, I mean, this is geared to homeschoolers, but you'll see as we go on. Today's families are busy. It's just part of the deal. At one time, it was kids' sports that made families busy for a season. It's not just kids' sports and activities that fill our schedules anymore. Adults have sports now too. And then there are festivals, concerts, parties, church activities, volunteering. The list goes on. The plethora of activities available to kids and adults alike can overwhelm the schedule. Homeschool families are not immune to the busy schedule. Sometimes we are the busiest of all. One of the reasons many of us homeschool is to have time to experience different activities and programs. We can try to cut our activities down to a manageable level, but we probably can't totally remove busy from our lives. However, we can use some strategies to keep busy to a minimum. Number 1, whoa, it just scrolled away from me. Number 1, so here we go. Have a good morning routine. The beginning of your day makes all the difference. Create a morning routine to set yourself up to succeed. For me, getting up before the kids is essential. I need time to get myself ready for the day. Have my coffee. Bingo. That's the first thing of the day. Need coffee. Read my Bible. Check emails. Make breakfast. And either set out the homeschool books for the day or get things ready or whatever activities we have planned. Then when the kids wake up, we are all ready to hit the ground running. All the prep work is done. Number 2 is meal plan. Nothing panics mom out like the words, "What's for dinner?" No need to panic when you have a plan. I make a weekly meal plan and base my grocery list off of that. It makes the dreaded grocery trip faster and cheaper. The meal plan takes the guesswork out of what's for dinner. The last thing I want to do is end up the busy day and use my last of my mental energy trying to think of a healthy meal for the family. Meal planning is key. You know, really, when you think about it, this applies to all of us. We could all meal plan, and it would save us money at the grocery store, and we know what we're having for the week. So you make your plan for the week, you have your menu made out, and you go to the store and buy what you need. And it will save you money because you're not buying all these extra things you're not going to use.
It might cost
what do you think?
to lose a little weight.
It may be. I mean,
At least
I
in my
know
case,
I could.
anyway.
So I mean, that's really a good one just for us all in general. We could all learn something from that because we all could just do a little meal planning. So then the next one is have kids help with housework. Our kids have been helping with housework since they were very little. My daughter had the habit from the time she was two to get all the books off her shelf and scatter them all over the room so she could pick out the ones she wanted. After the first week or two of that, I started to make her put the books back at the end of the day. I thought that would cure her of making the mess. It didn't. It did make her realize that she was responsible for her stuff. And at the end of the day, each day, I would say, time to clean up the books. And she would go to her room and put them on the shelf. So, even when I was growing up, we all had chores. I mean, you had to take out the garbage, you had to wash dishes. I mean, it's good to have, I mean, as children, we need to be taught how to work and have a good work ethic. I mean, we've lost that today, haven't we?
What work ethic? What work ethic?
Yeah,
What is
I
this
mean,
work
today,
ethic you speak of?
I mean, look at this whole thing where all these jobs are outsourced, and what's the reason why they claim is that Americans won't do the work, and you know what? Probably to a certain extent that may be true because there's a lot of people now today that don't want to do the work. Okay, if and I'm going to continue on because we're with this. If kids are taught early to expect to help around the house, they will feel a responsibility to pull their weight. Teach them how to do chores around the house, then give them the chore list and make sure that they get them done. This instills responsibility in them and sanity in mom. So there you go. You can help mom out by making sure the kids do their chore list.
Yeah, I was just going to mention here before the break. Do you know how unique it is? They will tell us that we need the immigrants to do the work because Americans won't do the work. But then they'll tell us we need the public school system because both parents have to work. So which one is it? It can't be both.
Yeah.
Either the parents want to do the work and they're willing to give up on their kids' education to go, I don't know, press widgets out of a widget machine, or they don't care about their kids' education at all and they'd rather just dump them off onto the public school system. And now there are some parents that don't have an option. I mean, the divorce decrees and stuff like that, sometimes they're mandated to go to certain schools. But I thought this was interesting. I finally got that law to pop up. The required subjects you have to know or you have to learn about in elementary is English, which has to include spelling, reading, and writing, arithmetic, that's a long word for math people, history of Pennsylvania and the United States, civics, health and physiology, physical education, you can read gym class there, music, art, geography, science, safety education, and the safety education has to include regular and continuous instruction in the danger and prevention of fires. I don't know how many times you got to drill that into a kid's head, but apparently you got to do it every year in Pennsylvania.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I was a firefighter, so hey, it's not a bad thing to teach them how to prevent fires.
No,
so back to
you got to do it every year.
They do it every year. Well, at the schools they have fire drills probably once a month, just about.
Yeah, I was going to say at least once a quarter.
Or probably once a quarter.
Or so.
Yeah. So back to this article. Number 4, lose the perfectionism. You're not perfect. Your family is not perfect. Your friends are not perfect. Your house does not have to look perfect. Every situation does not have to turn out just like you planned it. It's life. Roll with it. Accept it as life. You can't control other people. The only thing you can control are your actions and your attitude. I think that's just a great one. I mean, if we would just try to control our actions and our attitudes, I think life would be a whole lot better and a lot simpler if we could just keep our attitude good. So I'm preaching, I'm preaching at myself on that one because sometimes I don't have the best attitude. I mean, I work in a prison. How can I have a good attitude at times? So I mean, this one I got down. Man, this is a perfect one for COs. I can say this word. I mean, I'll say it. When I had the A1 floor, I probably said it 500 or 600 times in my 8-hour shift. Learn to say no. No's the friend of a CO. Since you can control your actions, choose them wisely. There are so many good activities and opportunities to learn. Have fun and serve available to you and your family. You can't do them all. You need to choose the right ones, even if it means saying no sometimes. If an activity doesn't line up with your family's priorities or will cause chaos in your life, just say no. Even if it's a good thing, like our radio show is a good thing. Your life is probably full of good things. Too much of a good thing is still too much. And this was written by Marcy Goodwin uh, for Homeschooling Today. So I thought it was kind of an interesting article. And I think we've gone a little bit over our past our scheduled break. So it's up to you. We taking a break here? Daniel?
I said, yeah, it's time for a break. I had my
Okay.
again.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought I lost you there.
No. I'm here listening, and I was going to say, yeah, you're probably about 4 or 5 minutes over there, my friend. You want to go ahead and take us out, and I'll get the commercial running.
All right. Well, folks, you're listening to Renegade Ramblers Radio, where thinking outside the box is recommended.
You, sir?
2 Whoppers, 2 Whopper Juniors, and 4 Coca-Cola. And will I have to wait long if you made 1 Whopper with no pickle and no lettuce?
No, sir. Hold the pickle, hold the lettuce. Special orders don't upset us. All we ask is that you let us serve it your way.
Oh, well, in that case, could I have the other Whopper with extra ketchup?
Sure. We can serve your grilled beef Whopper fresh with everything on topper. Any way you think is proper, have it your way.
Now that's the way to do things. Our way.
Have it your way. Have it your way at Burger King. Burger King.
Okay, I just had to play that one for a special friend of the programs. And no, I'm not the one in charge. Nice try. Anyway, you're listening to Renegade Ramblers Radio, where thinking outside the box is not only a good thing, but it is definitely recommended. And I don't think that was the one I was supposed to read, but that's the one I have down here, so that's the one I did. And I'm in charge, so there.
There you are. So I think we've pretty much covered the homeschooling thing now. You had been talking to me for a while about the police in your township. Can you kind of fill us in on that? I mean, I know you shared an article with me on it.
Okay. Well, a couple weeks ago, and I think I mentioned it on either last week's program or the program before that, or I'm not really sure, but I know I've mentioned it a lot. Duncannon, which is where I'm at, where I'm based out of, where the Renegade Ramblers studio south, because I'm too much of a Southerner to be called a Yankee here, is based out of. Now, our local police force, we were paying for rent-a-cops from the neighboring township, which literally is about 2 minutes drive from my house. Is there where their headquarters is at? And they wanted us to pay more money, and we just don't have it. We would have had to raise taxes 150% in order to pay the fee they wanted us to pay. So we told them, no, we're done. We can't afford that. We're not going to do it. We'll just rely on the state police. Then about a week later, Penn Township, which is a township that we got our police force from, where we rented their police force, they decided that their people didn't want a tax increase either. So they're just doing away with their police department altogether, which I don't know if it's a bad thing or a good thing. I always felt they were a little annoying because they like to harass you for going 5 miles over the speed limit. Not that I personally had experienced it, but I had friends that did. And it just got annoying. They didn't really do anything.
See, that's kind of where, okay, here I am. I mean, truth be told, I work in the law enforcement community, folks. So, you know, take it for what it's worth. But that was always one of my biggest gripes with our community, is that it's turned more into a revenue enhancement to government than it really is about protecting and serving. I mean, you know, the old Adam 12 on the side of the black and white police car, it said to protect and serve. Well, you know what? It's come down to more like, well, we need a little bit more money this month, so write some more tickets. So
yeah, it just gets incredibly annoying. And then I got to thinking, I was like, well, we have volunteer firefighters. You know, we send firefighters off to be trained. We give them the equipment, or they raise the money for the equipment, and you know, we pay workman's comp type insurance on them. So why couldn't we do that with the police force? Why do we need police that, I mean, we don't really need full-time police in my town. We just don't. The state police are 30 minutes away. I mean, maybe an hour. If you're getting to a point where you need police all the time and you're in a community like mine that's only 1,500 people, you have a much deeper problem than the police are going to be able to solve. But so it led me to think, what about a volunteer police force? Why couldn't we do a voluntary police force?
It's funny you mention that, because I have known about, I know there's a sheriff near you that's doing this, but I haven't been able to find his information online about it yet. But I found this one I forwarded on to you about PA Sheriff Posse called draws hundreds of volunteers and plenty of critics. So this is from Penn Live by Colin Deppen. Weeks after calling for the formation of a posse, in this case, an all-volunteer collection of sometimes armed civilians able to assist in non-emergencies, the Clearfield County Sheriff's Office says the response continues to be overwhelming, with hundreds of applications received, and more than a little bit of controversy generated. We've received 140 applications within 4 days, Chief Deputy Mike Cherner told Penn Live Wednesday. So here you are. I mean, this article right there. And I'll go on. I'll go down in this article a little more, but let's just start right there, because this sheriff is talking about a sheriff's posse, and with some organizations I've been in, we've been talking about sheriff's posses a lot. As a way for the only actual legitimate law enforcement that is really constitutional, the sheriff, because it's the only elected law enforcement in anywhere. I mean, most of your police chiefs are appointed by a city council, and they only answer to the mayor, where the sheriff is actually answerable to the citizens of their county.
Yeah, and with a posse, they're not going to be out there looking for revenue enhancement. They're going to be out there either tracking a criminal down, doing search, as in trying to find somebody that got Alzheimer's and they wandered in the woods and have no idea where they're going, or a hunter's gotten lost and they need to find them. Yeah, they're not going to be out sitting on the side of the road going, Mr. Kreslins, you're not wearing your seatbelt. You're doing 3 miles over the posted speed limit. That'll be $500. They're not going to do that. And that was a little play out to one of our friends that listens from time to time.
Yeah, let me just go down, because that's right in this article. Turner pointed to the death of an elderly nursing home resident who wandered from his home and later drowned in the Susquehanna River, saying, In those cases, putting 100 to 300 people on the ground would be a greatest asset to the community. The posse says will serve as a community aid group with members. And now there, this is the only thing that where I'm going to start to get go away from this guy a little bit, because I don't agree with their approach, but there's at least they've started the conversation in this direction, and it can grow from there. I mean, so you start with this and then you grow it from there. But it goes on to say, with members denied arrest powers and prohibited from using force. So here we are. At least they're beginning the discussion about this community doing its own policing with the sheriff, supplementing the sheriff's office with volunteers.
I still don't like the idea. They should be training them how to use force, not training them to back down. But that'd be about the only thing I differ on this. If you have a criminal or something, Russia, you need to be able to take action. You shouldn't be trying to run and hide behind a tree. It's not a bull chasing, right, after all.
And then there was another. I found one in the Washington. I found an article I shared with you in the Washington Post. I'm just trying to find it now. In this case, these guys that they're talking about, and I'm not quite sure where it was. This last example is was in Colorado, I believe, because it says in Colorado today, at least 17 county sheriff offices have organized posses. So in Colorado, there's 17 already sheriffs that have organized posses. And these days, posse service is not a matter of being summoned, but of volunteering. So again, these are volunteers. The volunteers are trained to high standards by the sheriffs, to the extent that the posse needs to be armed at any given time. And the sheriff always has had complete discretions in this matter. So they're saying that, I mean, this goes all the way back. I mean, this article, you know what I'm talking about, goes all the way back to the 9th century, the 8th century, and it talks about the common law coming up from then with these posses. But that these sheriffs have had this discretion in this matter for a long, long time. Posse members provide their own arms according to the sheriff guidelines. Posses provide everything from gate security at county fairs to assistance in hostage situations and high-risk arrests. So out there, it continues on. These county posses are supplemented by the Colorado Mounted Rangers, and this is going to go even further, a statewide volunteer organization which has a memoranda of understanding with over 24 local law enforcement agencies. So beyond the sheriffs, this group of volunteers has a memorandum that they're going to help out even police agencies to provide support as needed. Again, this can involve everything from directing traffic at a bike parade to emergency services during a wildfire or a flood, during natural disasters. A sheriff may also deputize posse members ad hoc to prevent looting in towns which have been temporarily isolated. So in natural disasters like Sandy, like down in New Orleans, the county sheriff could deputize these people and use them to protect the community.
I like St. Louis.
Or St. Louis, exactly. So, I mean, this whole concept isn't outside the pale. It's just not getting a lot of talk because, you know, we talked about this earlier, and you brought it up, the soccer moms. You know, they go, oh, my goodness, people walk around with guns. Woo! So, you know, this really is not outside the pale of the possibility to be done. It's just, again, going to be education and getting people, again, what were we talking about earlier with our motto here? Thinking outside the box is recommended. Well, this is really thinking outside the box because the communities, we got to stop looking to the state police. And I know in your case, that's who's covering your township now, is the state police is covering your township. Because I saw the article. but we got to even stop looking at them. We got to go to our counties, and we have to start having our county sheriffs starting to defend or to protect and serve our local communities. And that may involve having volunteers. My county seat is over in Towanda. It's easily 45 minutes away. A few years ago, we had two deputies serving a warrant less than a mile from my house as the crow flies. Um, while they were serving that warrant, the person in the house shot and killed both of them. In this situation, where if they're doing a warrant, they could call out their volunteer deputies or volunteer, whatever you want to call them, the volunteer posse, to assist them in this, so that they have more help than just the two of them walking up on this house. Because warrants are one of the most, and this was really a non-warrant. It was a summons for him to appear for a drug charge. So it was just like getting a traffic ticket. And these two deputies died because of basically a traffic ticket. But they could call out the posse to assist them in this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. We had a officer of the peace, constable, state constable, serving an eviction notice for a apartment building that's just at the top of the hill from where I live, on the top of the hill across baseball fields, and there it is. And he constable knocks on the door, tells the guy he's being evicted. Guy shuts the door, and this idiot grabbed an AR-15 with 30 rounds in the mag and one in the chamber and points it at the constable. Constable, shoots him. Ends up killing a little girl because it passed his 45. It's either a 45 or a 40 caliber, but that's not important. Shot the guy through the arm, the shoulder area, and it hit the little girl standing behind him. All during a eviction notice.
And again, this is a situation where, okay, number one, a constable, he should have never went there alone. Anytime you knock on a door like that, it's a very dangerous situation in law enforcement. Whenever you're dealing with situations, whether it's, domestics, or in this case, an eviction notice, you're getting people at a bad time. There could be bad reactions, and you don't want to be standing in that doorway by yourself. So this guy, one guy, he gets an AR, and it causes the death of a little girl. I mean, it's on the guy that picked up the AR. It's his fault. It's not the constable's fault. But the fact of the matter is, there should have been more than one of them. And again, with these volunteers, the posses, they could be called out to assist in this. And this article goes on to say, large posses have been used in exceptional circumstances, such as when serial killer Ted Bundy escaped from Pitkin County, that's in Aspen, jail in 1977, or in the manhunt for a pair of criminals who murdered the sheriff in Hinsdale County in 1944. In both these situations, the posse proved decisive in preventing the killers from leaving the county. So there is a use for this, and it's really something that we really need to start talking about in our communities. And it's just going to be education, because people, they don't like to be challenged to think outside the box, and that's what we're recommending, thinking outside the box. So folks, we got to start working on this and start thinking about this, and it's something that people got to consider, because a lot of people that are probably listening to this have never even given that a thought. So we're challenging this, people's paradigm here.
Oh, we can't challenge the paradigm now. People get upset when you do that.
Well, that's what it's going to take at this point. I mean, we got to start changing our thinking.
Oh, it's a matter of survival now. If you don't change your survival, you're thinking outside the box in your survival, you're not going to survive.
No, you're not. So I think it's time for us to hit the break, isn't it? About that time?
Yes, it is that time.
All right. So, folks, you're listening to Renegade Ramblers Radio, where renegade thinking is outside the box.
Well, people, that as soon as I turn my alarm here off, that time means that it's the end of our show for this week. We'll have a recorded show on the Christmas story for the next week because it is Christmas after all. So we're going to say to do. We'll.
And I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Daniel, you and your family, I wish you Merry Christmas. And everyone that's listening, have a great Christmas, and we'll see you in probably 2 weeks.
Yep, 2 weeks. Like I said, we're going to have some scripture reading here for Christmas, so you can sit around, listen to it. Hopefully, my Winamp doesn't mess it up this week, and you can actually hear it. If not, it'll be on YouTube for you. You can get it off of YouTube, and we'll post.
Oh, one last thing.
The next one.
Hey, one last thing there, Daniel. And don't forget, folks, you can. Most of you guys that are listening are in our chats. So there were 4 different taglines. If you were paying attention, you heard all 4 of them. Let us know which one you like.
Yes. And Jeff, you have a Merry Christmas, and everybody listening to this have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Merry Christmas, God bless, and good night.